The last breath in the snow fell like ash from a broken sky. Ilara held her child close against her chest. Little Leo didn't cry anymore. His small face was cold, his breath soft and slow. Her own body trembled, not just from the cold, but from the fear that this was the end. The wind screamed across the white land. There was no sun here, only gray clouds and an endless storm. Ilara's ship had crashed 2 days ago. It was small, only meant for short travel. Now it was a pile of frozen metal far behind her, already covered by snow. She had walked as far as she could, looking for shelter, looking for help. But this planet was dead. No animals, no trees, just ice and silence. Leo had stopped talking yesterday. He was only 5 years old, too young to understand death. He just asked, "When are we going home, Mommy?" Ilara didn't answer. She didn't know what to say. Now she sat under a broken ridge of ice, holding him in her arms. Her suit's heater was dying. Its weak red light blinked once, twice, and then faded. The warmth was gone. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Her lips were dry, cracking. I really tried." She closed her eyes. Snow landed softly on her eyelashes. Her arms tightened around Leo. If they were going to die, they would die together. Maybe someone would find them someday. Maybe not. But he wouldn't be alone. Then she saw it. A light. Very faint, far in the white distance. A glow, like fire. Ilara blinked. Was she dreaming? Was this what people saw before they died? The light moved. Closer. No. Not just a light. A figure. Tall, slow, walking through the snow. She couldn't see the face, but it was coming toward her. Fear rushed through her, stronger than the cold. Was it an animal? A machine? Something worse? She tried to move, but her body refused. Her fingers were stiff. Her legs numb. She couldn't run. She could only hold Leo tighter and wait. The figure stopped a few steps away. Now she could see it, clearer. It wore something like armor, dark and rough. A mask covered its face. Its hands were bare, but they didn't shake from the cold. It knelt beside her, slowly, carefully. Then it reached out. Ilara tried to speak. "Please, don't hurt my son." The figure didn't answer. Instead, it took something from its side, a small metal box. It pressed it against Ilara's chest. Warmth. Real warmth. The box gave off a soft red glow. Heat filled her body like fire, waking up frozen blood. Her heart beat faster. Her eyes widened. Leo stirred in her arms. The figure gently placed a second box near the boy. Still silent, the figure stood and motioned with one hand. "Come." Ilara looked up. She didn't understand, but she knew she had no choice. With effort, she stood. Her legs almost gave out. But the warmth helped. She followed the stranger step by step into the white. They walked for what felt like hours. The wind grew softer, the snow lighter. Then finally a black rock wall appeared ahead. A cave. The stranger led them inside. The cave was warm. A fire burned in a ring of stone. The flames were blue, not orange. Alien fire. Ilara sat near it, hugging Leo. He opened his eyes and whispered, "Mommy." "I'm here," she said, tears running down her face. "You're safe." The stranger moved to the back of the cave. It picked up a blanket and placed it around them. Then it stepped away into the shadows. It said nothing, but it had saved them. Ilara looked into the fire. Her hands still shook, but now from relief, not cold. Who was this stranger? Why had it helped them? On the cave wall, she noticed something. Lines carved into the stone. A picture. It showed a star, a ship, and people falling to a planet. One of them looked human. Ilara frowned. She leaned closer. There were words below the picture. Not alien English, faded but clear. If you are human, you are not alone. She turned toward the stranger. It stood silent, still in the shadows, watching her. Who are you? She wanted to ask, but the fire cracked softly, and the cave held only quiet. The stranger's fire Ilara woke to the sound of crackling flames. At first, she thought she was dreaming. Her body felt warm, her arms were wrapped around her son, and the cold was gone. For a moment she didn't move. She just listened to fire, to soft wind, to her own breath. Then she remembered. The snow. The crash. The stranger. Her eyes opened slowly. They were still in the cave. Leo lay beside her, wrapped in a thick blanket made of strange fur. His face had color again. He was breathing steadily, peacefully. Ilara sat up, muscles sore but alive. The fire burned in a circle of black stone. The flames were bluish-white, not like earth fire. They made no smoke, no smell. But they gave heat. Powerful, steady heat. She looked around the cave. It wasn't just a hole in the rock. Someone had lived here. There were marks on the walls, carvings, drawings, tools hanging from hooks, bones, animal maybe, stacked neatly in one corner. The stranger was nowhere to be seen. Ilara stood carefully. Her legs still trembled, but she forced herself to move. She had questions. She needed answers. Who had saved them? Why? And more importantly, was this person truly human? She moved toward the drawings. The one she had seen before was still there. A starship falling to the planet. Figures walking through snow. One had a round earth patch on its shoulder. The letters were old but clear. UES, Reunited Earthship. There were more drawings beside it now. She hadn't noticed them before. One showed a tall figure standing beside a human. The human was pointing toward the sky. The tall figure stood in shadow. Its eyes were glowing. Another showed a giant creature made of bone and steel, with red lights for eyes, chasing humans across the snow. Her heart tightened. Then she heard footsteps, soft, measured, coming from deeper inside the cave. She turned quickly. The stranger was back, still covered in dark armor, face hidden behind a thick scarred mask. No words, no movement, just silence and presence. Ilara took a breath and spoke. Who are you? No answer. Why did you help me? Still nothing. The stranger stepped forward slowly, holding something in its hands, a metal box with steam rising from the top. It placed the box near the fire and backed away. Food. The scent reached her nose. Warm, meaty, and strange. Ilara didn't recognize it, but her stomach growled. She hadn't eaten in over a day. She looked at the stranger again. You speak English? A pause. Then, slowly, the figure reached up and removed the mask. Ilara gasped. The face beneath was human, but not fully. His skin was pale, almost gray. His eyes were golden, glowing faintly. His hair was black, short, and rough. A long scar ran down his cheek. His jaw was strong, but his expression was unreadable. I speak little, he said, his voice rough and deep. Ilara stepped back, stunned. You're human? Half, he said. Her breath caught. Half? Half of what? The man looked at the fire, not meeting her eyes. Long time ago, your people came, crashed, some lived, some changed. I was born here. Ilara stared at him. You're one of us. Kind of. He nodded. Do others live here too? His eyes flicked toward the cave's entrance. No, only me. Now. The fire crackled louder, as if reacting to the silence between them. Ilara's mind raced. How did you find me, in the storm? He looked at her finally. I saw the sky burn. Your ship. You tracked us? I watched, Waited. You almost died. She didn't know what to say. Her chest filled with strange emotions, gratitude, confusion, fear. What is this place? She asked. This planet. It's not marked on any maps. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, it was hidden, long ago, by humans. Why? Because of the thing they left behind. A chill ran down her spine, colder than any snow. What thing? He looked into the fire. The hunter. The flames. Dimmed slightly. It smells heat, blood, thought. It hunts in cold, never sleeps. Ilara whispered, it's alive? The man nodded. How do you survive? He tapped his chest. I changed. Not all human. It can't smell me. Ilara felt her knees weaken. She sat down beside Leo, holding him closer. You saved us. You're risking your life. He shrugged. You're human. We do that. She looked up sharply. What's your name? The man hesitated. Kyle. Thank you, Kyle, she said. His eyes softened. Then he stood. You rest. I watch. As he turned away, Ilara called. Wait. He paused. There were words on the wall. English. If you are human, you are not alone. Did you write that? He shook his head. No. It was left by the first. First? Kyle looked at her with something close to sadness. Your people. The first crash. Over 70 winters ago. They didn't all die. Ilara's heart stopped. There are others? His jaw clenched. Maybe. If the hunter didn't find them first. He walked into the darkness at the back of the cave, leaving Ilara, with her child, the fire, and 100 questions burning in her mind. Voices from the past. Ilara had slept but not in peace. Her dreams were full of fire, metal screaming through the sky, her child slipping from her arms into the snow, and a voice calling her name in a language she didn't know, yet somehow understood. When she opened her eyes, the cave was silent. The fire had burned low. Blue embers flickered softly in the dark. Leo was still asleep, his little hand curled into the fur blanket. Kyle was gone. Ilara sat up, heart already beating faster. She stood, quietly, checking Leo once more, then moved deeper into the cave. Her legs were stronger now. The warmth had helped, the fear too. It gave her something sharp to hold on to. The tunnel twisted into shadow deeper than she'd expected. Smooth, worked stone beneath her feet, not just rough rock. Someone had shaped this place. She turned a corner and stopped. Kyle stood in a wide chamber, lit by strange white stones that glowed softly from the walls. Around him were shapes. Machines half buried in ice and dirt, old crates stacked in a corner, a large metal door set into the rock like a vault from another world. On the wall above it all, a faded earth flag. Ilara stared in disbelief. This was a base? Kale turned, nodding once. Before the storms, before the hunter woke, Ilara stepped forward, eyes locked on the machines. These are human Earth tech, from the first colony missions? Kyle didn't answer right away. He walked to one of the crates and opened it. Inside were old data pads, half broken, frozen, in place. He pulled one out and handed it to her. She wiped frost from the screen. The logo at the top said UEC, United Earth Command. Below it was a message, corrupted but readable. Evacuation order denied. Site classified. Survivors must remain in quarantine until further notice. Ilara's mouth went dry. They left them here? She said, voice low with horror. Kyle nodded. Some begged. Some fought. One betrayed. What do you mean? Kyle walked to the metal door. It only opens with voice, he said. One voice. He touched a panel beside the door. A red light blinked. Suddenly a voice came from a speaker. Rusty, broken, and human. Project Orion, site lockdown active. Clearance level, Commander Rourke only. Access denied. Ilara. Froze. Commander Rourke? she asked. He was in charge of the first team here? Kale's expression darkened. Yes. And he opened the door. To it. To what? Kale looked at her with eyes that didn't seem human at all anymore. To the hunter. The silence after that word was heavy. The fire, the machines, even the cave itself seemed to pull back into shadow. Ilara swallowed hard. You said it was a thing humans left behind, but was it a machine? A weapon? Kyle turned to one of the glowing stones. He pressed his hand against it. Another door opened in the wall. Behind it was a cold chamber filled with blue glass screens. In the center sat a machine the size of a chair with metal arms and wires coiled like snakes. It looked dead, until its eyes opened. 2 red lights blinked on. Ilara stepped back in alarm. What is that? Kyle said quietly. Memory. The voice that came next was calm. Female. Synthetic. Hello, Kale. Unknown user detected. Identity. Human. Scanning. Ilara stared. Kale nodded at the machine. It was the base AI before it shut down. It remembers what happened. The AI spoke again. Warning! Orion protocol breach detected. Human experimentation classified. Project failed. Estimated survivor count? 5. Wait, Ilara said. 5? You mean there are 4 others like you? Kale's jaw tightened. No. Not like me, worse. They were changed too fast, too far. Rourke used them to fight the hunter, but they lost control. Ilara's head spun. So what happened to them? They disappeared, Kale said. Some say they still live, hiding, watching. The AI screen flickered, then showed something unexpected. A map. It was of the planet's surface. Snowfields, mountains, storm zones, and then a blinking red dot. Signal detected, human tech, active, distress code. 771A location, north, quadrant. 143 kilometers, Ilara gasped. That's a distress beacon. Someone's alive. Kale stared at the map. Or something wants us to come. You think it's a trap? Kale didn't answer. Ilara stepped closer to the map. Even if it is, I have to go. There could be survivors. Answers. A way off this frozen graveyard. Kale looked at her with something close to warning. You leave this cave. The hunter will know. Then we move fast. Kyle's eyes narrowed. You are like the first. I'm a mother, she said, fire in her voice now, and I'm not going to die here waiting. She turned to leave, but stopped at the doors behind her. The AI spoke once more. Warning, subject Kale registered as modified hybrid. Emotions unstable. Loyalty uncertain. Ilara looked at him. He didn't move, didn't speak. Can I trust you? She asked. Kyle looked up slowly. If I wanted you dead, you would be. His words were true, but his eyes held pain. The hunter in the snow. The silence outside the cave was too perfect. Ilara stood at the mouth of the cave, wrapped in the strange fur cloak Kale had given her, staring out at the vast white wasteland. The snow had stopped falling. The sky was pale and cracked with thin light, but it didn't feel like peace. It felt like the world was holding its breath. Behind, Leo slept under the blankets. Kale stood a few steps away, strapping thin silver plates over his arms. Armor, silent and flexible, made from some alien material she'd never seen before. She spoke without turning. You feel it too, don't you? Kale didn't answer. But that was answer enough. The signal they found, the blinking red dot on the map, was real. A human distress beacon, still active after all these years. But the moment it appeared, something changed in the air, as if the planet itself had awakened. Kale finally spoke. It hunts heat and movement, but now it smells memory. Ilara frowned. What do you mean? Kale's voice was low. The hunter is not just a machine. It remembers the ones who escaped it. It remembers blood, fear. Then how are you still alive? She asked. He paused, I learned how to be invisible. Before she could ask more, the wind shifted. It was sudden, sharp, a cold blast that pushed into the cave like a warning. Kale's eyes narrowed. Ilara, he said firmly, wake the boy. We have to move. She turned instantly, rushing to Leo's side. He was still groggy when she wrapped him in the blanket and lifted him into her arms. Kyle grabbed a strange silver rod from the cave wall. With a twist, it extended into a long staff. He tapped the fire pit and the blue flames vanished. Leave no heat, he said. They stepped into the snow. The moment they did, the sky above rumbled. Not thunder. Something howling. Ilara froze. What was that? Kyle didn't answer. His eyes were scanning the horizon. Far, far to the west, where the mountains curved like broken teeth, a black shape moved. It was massive, four-legged, fast. Its body shimmered like glass under the pale light, part metal, part bone. It left no tracks, but it was coming. Fast, Ilara tightened her grip on Leo. That's it, isn't it? Kyle nodded once. It found us. They ran, across the snow, down through a narrow ravine Kale had mapped years ago. Ilara stumbled, nearly fell twice, but kept moving. Leo's arms were tight around her neck. Kale led them through frozen tunnels, under arches of cracked ice, across a narrow bridge of stone that hung over a black canyon. Behind them, the hunter howled again, louder, closer, and then came the tremors. Small at first, just soft quakes under their feet, but each one grew stronger. The thing wasn't walking, it was leaping, moving like a predator across the land, unstoppable, tireless. Suddenly, a shriek split the air. Ilara turned just in time to see something behind them. Not the full body, just the edge of it, like a scythe of black steel cutting through snow and rock, spraying ice into the air. It didn't follow the path. It cut straight through it. Go, Kyle shouted, grabbing Ilara's hand. They reached a thin opening between two cliffs. Kyle pulled a small cube from his belt and threw it behind them. A flash of white light. The cliffside exploded. A wall of ice fell, sealing the path, but Kale didn't stop. This won't hold it, he said. We need to reach the bunkers. Bunkers? Ilara panted. Kyle nodded. Made by the first, hidden deep. We might lose it there. They ran another hour, maybe more. Ilara lost count of time. The snow didn't stop, but it grew quieter. The tremors faded, but she knew better than to relax. The hunter didn't give up. It waited, watched, and attacked only when it saw weakness. Finally, they reached it. A massive iron door hidden beneath a cliff edge, half covered by snow and vines. Kale pressed his palm against a scanner. It lit up green, access granted. The door slid open with a hiss of steam. Inside, dark tunnels, metal floors, yellow emergency lights flickering weakly. Old air, stale, but safe. For now. They entered. The door sealed behind them. Leo coughed. His face was pale again. Ilara knelt down, brushing snow from his hair. Shh. You're okay. We're safe now. Kale checked the hallway. It won't find us immediately, but it knows this place. Ilara looked around. The walls were marked with old human numbers and faded signs. One said, Section 4, Medical Storage. Another said, Research, Classified. People lived here, she whispered. Kale nodded. Until Rourke made the hunter. They found a sealed room and entered. It had old beds, crates of food, even heating vents. Ilara laid Leo down, wrapped him up, then sat beside him. Her hands were still shaking. Kale stood by the door silent. Then he said something unexpected. It remembers faces. Ilara looked up. What? The hunter. It killed the first. But some of us escaped. Barely. It never forgets. He turned to her. You should have died in that snow. Ilara, you and your boy. But you didn't. That means something. Ilara stared at him. What are you saying? Kyle stepped forward. I think You woke something in it. You're not just prey to it. You're a threat now. A deep chill ran through her bones, not from cold, from truth. Then suddenly, the lights in the room flickered. All of them. A screen near the door blinked to life. Motion detected. Perimeter breach. Kale grabbed his staff. Impossible. It moved too fast. Ilara stood up, heart racing. What do we do now? Kale looked at her, and for the first time there was something new in his eyes. Not fear, not coldness. A choice. We don't run this time, he said. We fight. Memories of steel and blood. The room smelled like rusted metal and frozen time. Ilara followed Kale deeper into the bunker, her eyes wide, her heart thudding like a war drum in her chest. Leo stayed behind in the sealed safe room, resting, protected for now. But something inside her said that time was running out. The hallway ahead was covered in frost. Pipes ran along the ceiling, broken in some places, still hissing steam in others. Warning lights blinked in no clear pattern, some red, some yellow, all old. The air was heavy, like it carried memory, or ghosts. This place was a research lab, Kale said, his voice low. But not just science. They called it Project Orion. I saw that name before, Ilara whispered. On the AI's terminal. Kale nodded grimly. Orion wasn't just about surviving the planet. It was about transforming it. And us. They reached a thick black door marked with faded yellow paint. Experimental Level 3 bioengineering authorized personnel only. By order of Commander Rourke, Kale placed his hand on the scanner. It beeped once. Red light. Denied. I'm not high enough clearance, Kyle muttered. Ilara stepped forward. Let me try. He raised an eyebrow. You? She shrugged. Rourke was my great-uncle. I don't know if that matters. But maybe the system remembers blood. She pressed her palm against the scanner. A long pause. Then, green light. Access. Granted. The door opened with a groan, like it hadn't moved in decades. Inside, silence. The walls were steel. Cold, dark, and covered in strange scribbled notes. Screens flickered softly, displaying data in Earth Standard English and a second language Ilara didn't recognize. Alien, perhaps, or evolved. In the center of the room stood 4 large glass. 3 were shattered, 1 still glowed. Ilara stepped closer, breath held. Inside the pod floated a body, human in shape. Pale skin, tubes running from skull to chest. Muscles like wires. Eyes closed, lips slightly parted. It wasn't breathing, but it wasn't dead either. Kale whispered. One of the first subjects. They experimented on their own people? Ilara asked, horrified. Volunteers at first, then not anymore. A terminal beside the pod came to life. A face appeared on the screen. An old man, mid-50s, stern jaw, gray beard, military uniform. His eyes were cold, hard. Commander Rourke. A video log began to play. Day 76. Subject Delta still alive. Cellular response exceeds expectations. Neural enhancements syncing with predictive AI. If this works, we won't just survive this world. We'll control it. The next log autoplayed. Day 89. 2 subjects dead. Kale escaped. His DNA took well to the procedure. I believe the hybrid model is the key. Emotional detachment. Biological resistance, he's perfect. And he hates me for it. Ilara turned sharply toward Kale. He didn't move. His face was stone. I was a child, he said flatly. He said I'd be better, stronger, faster. He didn't ask. The screen changed again. Final log. Day 94. The hunter is awake. It mimics what it consumes. Steel, bone, data, thought. It is learning. It called my name in the dark. The others are dead. I'm going to seal the lower levels. If anyone finds this, destroy everything, including me. The video ended. Silence. fell like a second winter. Ilara stepped back from the screen, her hands shaking. He created the monster. He created you. And he knew it would all fall apart. Kyle didn't speak. He walked over to a side cabinet, ripped it open, and pulled out a set of old documents. Blueprints, medical scans. Ilara looked over his shoulder. Her breath caught. One of the files had her name on it, not her full name. Just a code ELRA 774. She flipped through it. Gene tests, blood scans, matching results, and then something worse. Another page. Subject, LIO 774. Gen code, Echo Child. Status, unstable, suppressed potential. Ilara's knees buckled. Kale caught her. No, she whispered. No, he's just a boy. Kale scanned the page. They made you part of this, Ilara. Maybe without you knowing. Your blood was marked. You passed it to him. What does Echo Child mean? She asked. Kale's face was grim. Echo Childs were designed to mirror human evolution under extreme conditions. Adapt fast, think faster. If they survive childhood, they become something else. The lights above them flickered again. Far above, in the ceiling vents, something moved. Kale's eyes shot upward. It found us. The screen behind them flashed red. Alert. Level 3 breach. Unknown entity detected. Kale turned, grabbing Ilara's wrist. We run, now. But Ilara didn't move. He's not a weapon, she said. He's my son. I know, Kale said. But the hunter won't care. Suddenly, boom. The wall exploded inward, not with fire, with ice. Sharp spear-like shards of frost pierced the floor and walls, followed by a black limb covered in shifting metal. The hunter pulled itself halfway into the room, massive, crawling like a spider, face a blur of spinning machinery and bones. It stared straight at Ilara, not at Kale, not at the pod, just her. And then, it spoke, in a voice that was both human and not. Echo. Source. Mother. Ilara froze. Her name. Her title. Kale hurled a pulse grenade. It exploded with a blast of sound and force, knocking the creature backward. Move, he shouted. They ran, up through the halls, twisting through metal corridors as the hunter screamed behind them, shattering walls, crawling like death on all fours. They reached the safe room. Ilara scooped up Leo. Kyle slammed his palm on the emergency exit. The floor beneath them opened. An escape shaft. They fell through darkness. Then, silence. They landed in a deep, sealed transport tunnel. Lights flickered on. Rails ran in both directions. Kyle activated a switch. A rail cart hummed to life. Where does it go? Ilara gasped. Far north, Kale said. Where the last human outpost still sleeps. She looked down at Leo. His eyes were open. He was awake. But something had changed in them. He looked at her, not with fear, but with understanding. They're afraid of me, Mommy, he said softly. Ilara held him tighter. No, baby. They're afraid of what they tried to turn you into. But I won't let them. The cart moved forward into the dark tunnel. Behind them, the hunter shrieked again. But it did not follow. Not yet. The rise of the forgotten. The tunnel was ancient. Its walls were smooth, reinforced with old steel, and lined with rail cables that hummed with forgotten power. The air smelled of metal, dust, and something else. Memory. Not the kind that lived in the mind, but the kind that lived in the bones of places. Too old to speak, but too angry to stay silent. Ilara sat in the speeding rail cart, holding Leo close. The boy leaned against her, calm but quiet. Too quiet. Across from them, Kale stood with one hand resting on the edge of the cart, staring into the dark ahead. His jaw was tight, his body tense. Even after everything, he hadn't relaxed. And Ilara knew why. The hunter hadn't followed. That wasn't comfort, that was warning. You think it let us go? She asked. Kale didn't look at her. No, it's hurting us. Toward what? Toward what it fears. Ilara frowned. What does the most dangerous thing on this planet fear? Kale finally looked at her. Us. The tunnel lights flickered. Then the cart began to slow. Ahead, a sealed gate appeared. Black steel, marked with an old Earth insignia almost lost to time. UEC Outpost Theta 7. The last known human installation from the original mission logs. The place no one ever reached. Kale stepped forward and inserted a crystal key. The gate clicked. Opened. Beyond it was a city beneath the ice. A dome. Massive, cracked, but still standing. Within it were towers, roads, greenhouses covered in frost, and buildings made from scavenged ship parts and survival bunkers. Light glowed weakly from high pylons. Signs of life. Real life. As the cart rolled forward, Alara saw figures emerge from the buildings, men and women in heavy suits, armed, eyes hard. Most had never seen a new face in years, and they were aiming their weapons at her. Kale raised a hand. One man stepped forward, tall, old, white beard, military scars. Kale, he said. Thought you were dead, Kale replied. Almost. As usual, the man looked at Alara, then at Leo. A child? He said, shocked. How did you... She crashed, Kale cut in. She's blood-linked to Rourke. Gasps, weapons lowered. The man stepped forward. Name's Captain Thorne. Welcome to what's left of the human resistance. Inside the dome, Alara learned the truth. Not everyone had died. Some had escaped Rourke's madness. When the experiments failed and the hunter was born, Thorne and others had fled, built this hidden outpost, shielded it, kept it alive. Barely, but the dome was dying. Power cores failing. Food systems damaged. Air filtration weak. One more winter would kill them all. We've sent signals for decades, Thorne said. No answer. Earth never came back, Kale added. Because Earth gave up on us. But Alara shook her head. No. They covered this up. That's why I was monitored, why my son was tagged. They knew something survived. They just didn't want it known, Thorne sighed. Then it's over. No, Alara said firmly. It's just beginning. They gathered in the old command center. Alara stood beside a console. Leo sat near her, staring at a screen showing the planets. Surface. Kale pointed at a pulsing red dot. That's the hunter. It stopped moving, Thorne frowned. Why? Kyle looked at Leo. Because it's watching him. Everyone turned. Alara hesitated. You're saying it's afraid of my son? Kyle nodded. It sees what he can become. Thorne crossed his arms. And what exactly can he become? Kyle spoke slowly. The last Echo Child, the only one that didn't break. He walked to Leo and knelt beside him. Tell me what you feel, boy. Leo blinked, then said softly, I hear the ice breathing. The room fell silent. I hear metal talking in its sleep. I can feel the hunter watching. Not just from outside, from below. Kale stood. He's connecting. The planet is part machine, part memory. They built the hunter using the planet itself. It listens, it learns, and Leo is tuned to the same frequency. Thorne was silent for a long time, then he said, So you want us to send a child to fight a monster? Alara stepped forward, voice hard. No, we protect him, but we use what he is. If the hunter listens to him, he can confuse it, delay it. Give us a chance, Thorne turned to his people. Then we make our stand. That night, Alara couldn't sleep. She stood near the greenhouse window looking at the stars beyond the ice dome. Leo came to her side, silent. Mom? He said. Yes, baby. Am I broken? She turned to him quickly. No, you're special, not because of what they did, but because you're stronger than it. He nodded, but his face was serious. I think it's waiting for me. She knelt beside him. What do you mean? I think it doesn't want to kill me. It wants to become me. The next day, alarms sounded. The hunter had moved. Fast. It tore through mountains, broke stone, crushed tunnels, coming for the dome. The humans prepared. Guns, drones, traps made from old tech. Ilara stood in the war room, armored in scavenged gear. Leo stood beside Kyle, who had given him a short blade made of light steel. "I don't want you to fight," Ilara whispered to Leo. "I won't," he said, "but I'll stop running." Outside, the snow broke open. The sky screamed, and the hunter came. It didn't attack at once. It stood on the ridge, massive and silent. Its body had changed again. More human. Its face was now shaped like a skull, and in its chest glowed something red. A heart. Not real, but built. Modeled after Leo. Ilara gasped. "It's copying him," Kyle growled. "It's not just a killer anymore. It wants to be." Then it spoke, in Leo's voice. "Let me in," Ilara shouted. "Fire!" The mountains lit up. Explosions, cannons, drones flew and missiles rained. The hunter screamed, staggered, but didn't fall. It launched a blast of sound that shattered steel. Thorn's men were thrown back. Kale leapt in front of Ilara and Leo, blocking the shockwave. Then Leo stepped forward, unafraid. "Stop," he said. The hunter paused. Ilara reached out. "Leo!" But it was too late. Leo raised one hand, and the snow around them froze solid. Time seemed to slow. Kyle gasped. "He's sinking with it." Leo stared at the creature. "I'm not your mirror," he said softly. "I'm your grave." Fire in the ice. The wind stopped. Not because it ran out of breath, because it was listening. Leo stood at the edge of the fractured dome, one hand raised toward the massive black shape looming above them. The hunter, bone and steel and sorrow, had paused mid-step. Its head tilted like a curious animal. Its glowing red heart pulsed in rhythm with Leo's. They were connected, but not allies. Reflections. One born of human pain, the other of human hope. Kale stood just behind the boy, every muscle coiled, every sense sharp. His staff buzzed with stored energy. Beside him, Ilara gripped a shock rifle, her heart torn between protecting her son and trusting his power. Captain Thorn and the remaining fighters watched from the fortified wall of the dome. None dared move. This was no longer a war between flesh and machine. This was something older, deeper. This was humanity facing its own shadow. The hunter lowered itself. Closer. Its voice echoed across the frozen wasteland, using Leo's tone, but layered with static and something darker. "I feel you. I was born from the same seed, made to adapt, to evolve. You are like me. Join." Leo didn't blink. "You were made from fear. I was born from love." The hunter tilted its head again. "Love is inefficient. Love dies in the cold." Leo stepped forward. "No, it survives. Even here." He closed. His eyes. The snow around his feet melted. Steam rose from the ground. Then, light. Soft at first. Then brighter. From his hands. From his chest. His genes were activating. Project Orion had failed with others. But with him, he hadn't just survived the mutation, he had mastered it. Kale's eyes widened. "He's controlling the field." "What field?" Ilara asked, stunned. Kale pointed upward. "This whole planet. It was designed as a terraforming AI core. Rourke tapped into it. The hunter was one result, but Leo is reaching the core itself. Above them, the clouds shimmered. The sky cracked with pulses of blue. The ice began to tremble. The dome behind them groaned as old systems surged with fresh power. Lights came alive that hadn't flickered in years, but the hunter didn't retreat. It lunged, a blur of claws and speed. Ilara screamed. "Leo!" Kyle moved. Faster than ever, he slammed into the hunter's leg, driving his staff into the joint. It sparked, sliced, but the creature roared and batted Kale aside. He hit the ground hard. Didn't move. Leo's eyes snapped open. He looked at Kyle, then back at the hunter. The boy's expression changed. Anger, not hate, not rage, protection. He raised both hands. A wave of blue fire exploded from his body, made of pure energy, shaped by will. It slammed into the hunter, lifting it off its legs and hurling it into the mountain behind. The rock cracked. The sky lit with fire. But the hunter rose again. Half its body burned away, but its red heart still beat. "You are mine," it screamed. "No," Leo said. "I am my own." He walked forward, past the wreckage, through steam and falling snow. The hunter struck again, but this time, Leo caught the blow mid-air and pushed back. With impossible strength, the planet trembled. Caves far below opened. Lights blinked across the horizon. For the first time in centuries, the core of the planet was awake. A voice, deep, mechanical, ancient, spoke in all their minds. Primary user detected. Code ELIO 774. System reset ready. Ilara fell to her knees, overwhelmed. "What is happening?" Kale, coughing blood, whispered, "He's become the key. The system. It's giving him command." The hunter screamed again, wild, furious. It charged one last time. Leo didn't move. Looked into its eyes and said only one word: sleep. The planet obeyed. Ice shot from the ground like 1,000 spears. Energy exploded upward. The hunter was caught mid-leap, frozen in place, encased in blue crystal, every circuit locked, every scream silenced. Its heart flickered once, then darkened. It was over. The silence that followed was not empty. It was peace. Leo turned and ran to Kale, kneeling beside him. "Don't go," he whispered. Kyle smiled weakly. "Too late, old bones. But I saw it. You, becoming what we were meant to be. You saved us." Kyle nodded. "Not saved. Awakened." He placed a small object in Leo's hand, a crystal cube. "My memory. Keep it. Tell them we weren't monsters." And then he was still. Ilara wept silently, but Leo stood, stronger. The lights above them pulsed. Systems came online. A soft mechanical voice echoed from the sky. Planetary core reconnected, rebuilding atmosphere, restoring warmth. Snow began to melt. For the first time in 100 years, wind blew that didn't carry death. It carried life. 3 months later, the dome was gone, not destroyed, opened. The land around it had thawed, revealing soil, trees beginning to grow and rivers running from the mountain ice. The humans of Theta 7 had become settlers again. Ilara walked through the new garden domes, watching children play. Leo stood at the edge of the cliff staring at the rising sun. He held Kale's memory crystal in his hand. Behind him, a sleek ship landed. Ilara joined him. "They answered," she said. "Earth?" "Not Earth," she replied. "Another colony. But they got the signal. Help is coming." Leo nodded. "Good, they'll need us." Ilara smiled. "You're not a weapon, Leo. You're a beginning." He turned to her. "I'm not alone anymore." "No," she said. "None of us are." Far in the distance, the hunter's frozen form still stood, buried in crystal. A warning, a tomb. And beside it, Kale's grave, marked with simple words carved into the stone. He was more human than most.